press conference for the Oregon Trail Days. We appreciate everybody coming. Of course, we're here for Miss America. Thank you.
So, Teresa, what does it mean to be home for Oregon Trail Days?
It's so good to be back. Like I said, this was one thing that I thought I was going to miss, and I thought it was the first time that I would miss Oregon Trail Days in my entire life. And so I'm glad that I'll be able to be back for this. I'm really looking forward to today and tomorrow, of course. It's just so good to be back every step of the way, I guess. When I was Miss Scottsbluff County in Oregon Trail Days, when I was Miss Nebraska in Oregon Trail Days, and now as Miss America, you know, every step of the way, everybody here at home is always there for me. And so it's always good to see everyone again and be part of that same tradition another year.
So what are the activities you're going to participate in?
Oh, let's see. Later today we have the car show that I'll be at, and then the concert at Five Rocks. Tomorrow, of course, is the parade. We've got a meet and greet at Legion Park from 2 to 3, and then the concert again tomorrow night as well.
Will you be singing at the concert?
Yes, tonight and tomorrow night I'll be singing at both. So.
And you mentioned to Cheryl earlier about the pageant, and you got your start when you were 13 as a county teen queen. How important was that pageant, and then when you were junior queen?
Oh my goodness.
To this.
Right. I wouldn't be here without it, that's for sure. I mean, that was where I got my start, and it does take that first experience to get you passionate and get you interested and started, and that makes all the difference in the world. And having mentors there and people that are going to help you makes a huge difference as well. And I wouldn't have been able to do it without Cheryl and Misty and all of those ladies from the Scottsbluff County Fair Pageant Board who helped me every step of the way. And so getting that first experience when I was 13, I suddenly found this passion that I hadn't found before. And I realized that this was something that I loved and something that I had not yet discovered. And all my life I had been searching for somewhere where I excelled or where I felt that I was meant to be. And I did so many things, but I didn't excel in any one area. I was just good at everything. And whether it was dance or singing or gymnastics or playing piano, I just wasn't able to dedicate myself completely to one thing, but this was a way where it all came together. And it rewarded me for doing well in school. It rewarded me for being involved in the community and being involved in volunteering. And all of those accomplishments could then pay off in a program like this, because it really does focus on helping young women become well-rounded and focus on every area of their life. And it certainly did that for me, because after I competed at 13 and knew that I wanted to continue competing, through high school, that made all the difference in the world. It helped me think of the goals that I had set for myself and remember that I needed to watch everything that I did and question every choice that I made and keep my record very clean, not only for this, but also hopefully for a career in politics as well. It helped me start to realize that I needed to start thinking about the future no matter how young I was. So, I mean, 13 years old, even before that, it was important for me to realize that every decision I made was going to be so important for the future. And now I'm glad to say that those hard choices and that hard work growing up and going through high school paid off. Because it wasn't always easy. It was tough, and sometimes people didn't understand why I was doing what I did. But now I can say that it was worth it.
So in a year and a half, you've gone from Miss Scottsbluff County to Miss Nebraska to Miss America. I mean, do you pinch yourself and think you're going to wake up?
All the time. Well, then, of course, when I'm back for an event like this, I feel like I'm just back as Miss Scottsbluff County, and it's no big deal. And it's just crazy, you know, it really is. It doesn't feel, because I don't feel any different, yet everything has changed. And so it's a very strange feeling to have, and I think really almost every day something happens that makes it feel surreal all over again. Whether I start looking at the history of the past Miss Americas before me and realize that I'm part of that legacy now and part of that 90-year tradition, and whatever it is, something always happens that makes me pinch myself again and pinch myself again. And it's a good feeling to have, though, because that keeps it on the forefront of my mind that this is not to be taken advantage of, that I need to really embrace every moment, do all that I can with it. But it continues to be surreal every day.
So we keep track of you because you're local and, and you're on the go. You said 20,000 miles a month.
Mm-hmm. And I've been tracking that pretty closely. I've been following how many planes I'm on each month, how many different states I'm in each month, and then how many miles I travel. And it has been 15,000 to 20,000 every month.
I would have to think you're the busiest Miss America they've had in quite a while. Do they tell you that you've been the most popular? Or?
They love her. They told Amy, the state directors, they go, we love Teresa. She's one of the best Miss Americas we've had.
And it has, I've felt a lot of support. I mean, and from the organization, we only have a very small national staff in the offices in Atlantic City, and they work absolutely as hard as they can. And this has been a year that new partnerships and new things are always coming up, which I think says something as well. The new projects we've been able to work with agriculture and farming have come from my background here in Nebraska, and so many of those partnerships that are new and have sprung up are kind of unique this year, which is good to see that we're moving in a new direction. And although this has been they have told me that this is more of a selective year, where because now we have so many opportunities, we've been able to pick the important events we want to do, whereas other years sometimes they really did have to stay even busier doing something every minute of every day just to keep the schedule full, just to keep things going on and that sort of thing. So I've talked to some of the former Miss Americas, and although my schedule is not as crazy, it is definitely just as busy and full and always something happening. But I'm glad that it's been a good balance for me, where every time I have an insane week, then I have a little time to sleep, and that's good. So it has been a good balance where I haven't been burnt out yet, so I think that's been important.
Teresa, what give me highlights so far in your experience?
Oh goodness, well, just about a month ago now, I believe, is when we met with Prince Edward for 4 days. We went through DC, Baltimore, and New York City with him. Our chairman of the Miss America board, Sam Haskell, is also the president of the U.S. Duke of Edinburgh's award, which is Prince Edward's award program, which is actually much like the Miss America organization, which is an awards program that involves different components in different areas. There's physical fitness, an adventurous journey, community service, and special skills that you work on each of these areas to earn the varying levels of these awards. So the Miss America organization just formed a national partnership with this award program, where Miss America contestants are also working on their Duke of Edinburgh award. So I'm working on my award right now. They've also formed a partnership with the Boy Scouts. So this time when he was over here in the States, we were working on advocacy events and fundraising events for his award program, which was just amazing. Learned a lot from him as he's grown up having a position that I was just thrown at this year. And so it's very interesting how similar it really is with the way that people treat you and the way they expect you to act and that sort of thing. So it was interesting to watch how he acted and how he was able to walk into a room, talk to everybody, and give speeches off the cuff, and was just comfortable with that. And so I learned a lot from spending some time with him. Just yesterday, we flew in from Phoenix, Arizona. I was there with Children's Miracle Network, another absolute amazing event with them. Those are always highlights for me. We got to visit the Phoenix Children's Hospital there, which is one of the largest in the country, and do some other events with them as well. But we just had such a great time in the hospital. They have a school for the kids at the hospital, since oftentimes they're there for months or years and miss a lot of school. So they have a school right there. So I went there and got to talk to them, read a book to them. They had a smart board, so on the map I marked all the states that I had visited, and they colored them in on their maps. And there were quite a few. I've been to 33 states now. So trying to keep track of all those. But we had such a good time, and the kids were just absolutely amazing, asking so many questions and talking about everything. And so those are always highlights for me whenever we can work with those kids. It's always incredible.
What type of work have you done with your platform?
We've done several events. I was really excited. The main organization that I've been working with my platform, ANAD, invited me and brought me to their annual candlelight vigil in Illinois, where they're based. So we went to this event that is in remembrance of those who have lost their lives to eating disorders. So there were many, many families there that shared their stories about loved ones they had lost. And that was really important for me to be able to talk to these people and realize, again, how serious it is, and how many people don't realize that until it's too late. And many times these parents found out too late or sought help for their children too late. And so I've continued to talk to schools, to pass out my wristbands, to talk to student groups. And it's not just about talking specifically about eating disorders. It's talking about the underlying issues of body image and self-confidence. And I talk about that everywhere I go because it's so easy. As in a job like Miss America, people constantly talk about it. They constantly ask questions about diet and exercise and whatever it may be, and they make assumptions too. And I've realized that many people automatically assume that to be a pageant contestant you have to have an eating disorder, and they honestly believe that day to day I'm starving myself and I'm limiting myself and restricting myself in this way or that way. And so it's been one of my big goals this year to make sure that we spread the message that that's not true, and that when they come up and take a picture with me, they can stop saying, well, I'm going to look so fat next to Miss America, when their children are right there and we'll hear them saying that. You know, these are things that people don't realize the kind of effect that that will make on young people around them. And whether it be children, adults, people of any ages, that's something that constantly try to help them understand, is that it is about accepting yourself and accepting others the way that they are, and realizing that everybody's different, and not focusing on image above all else. And that's something that I'm very proud to stand for this year, especially when little girls come up and are looking up to me and are so excited and want to be Miss America someday, to help them realize that it's not about just the way you look, that there's so much else that you have to work on and focus on. And when they ask, what can I do to be Miss America? It's not about working on putting on your makeup or wearing dresses. It's finding something that you're passionate about for your platform to start working on. It's about getting involved in your community and volunteering. It's about working on talents, doing well in school, so many of those things. So that's definitely something I'm continuing to try to share.
33 states, 20,000 miles a month. Do you ever wake up and go, where am I?
Always, every morning, honestly. And every time somebody asks me, where did you fly in from? Blank stare. I have no idea. Where are you going next? Well, let me think for a while. So I have my calendar on my iPad, and I'm constantly going back to that just to try to remember what I did 2 days ago and what I'm doing in the next 2 days. And I usually go just a couple days at a time. So all I know is Sunday I fly to London and spend a week in London and Germany. And after that, I don't remember what comes next. So I go about one event at a time, one chunk of or section at a time. And most of the time, I'm not quite sure where I am, so I just get on the plane and see where it takes me and follow my tour manager.
So you come across very natural and very comfortable talking anywhere and everywhere. How much homework do you do between stops? How much do they work with you?
It depends. I mean, for some events, well, I'll get speaking points. For others, they'll give me a general idea of what they want me to talk about. Interviews, sometimes we'll have an idea of what it's going to be about. Sometimes we absolutely do not know, and it's an interesting surprise. You really do have to learn to go off the cuff, to improv, to all of those things, be comfortable in any situation, that sort of thing, because also it's a lot of shifting gears from one event to the next. Sometimes you don't really have time to study too much on what the event is about, or background information, or that sort of thing. So there's a lot of, you may not get all the details, and you just walk into an event, try to assess the situation, and go from there. So there has been quite a bit of that as well, but they definitely do all that they can to make sure that we get details about what we're getting into and what kind of situations we're in and events we're doing. But other than that, I've learned to realize that I can't be absolutely prepared for everything. And I used to not even be able to give a speech off of bullet points. I had to have the whole thing written out. And now I can do it without anything. So it's been great practice for that, you know, to be able to just go with whatever the situation is and work with it.
I know you're excited about going overseas. tell us a little bit about?
Our official wardrobe sponsor, Joseph Ribkoff, is taking us over to Germany and the UK, so we're going to be doing a bunch of events with them. I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to being able to represent the Miss America organization and our designer over in those countries. It'll be my first trip overseas as Miss America, so I think this will be really a once-in-a-lifetime experience to be able to represent the organization in those countries and hopefully be able to share that with them in whatever way possible. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'll write all about it when we're done and see what kind of adventures we have over there. But I think it'll be an amazing experience.
What's it been like? I noticed on the website that you've I've seen your pictures, Carrie Sinise and stuff like that. What's it like meeting those Hollywood celebrities?
You know, it's funny because I was never a starstruck person, I guess, growing up, and my sisters are, and whoever else my friends are, and so they get so excited about me meeting these celebrities. And quite honestly, usually meeting leaders or politicians or just anybody who's successful is a lot more interesting to me. Because not in all cases, many celebrities are celebrities because they've got talent and they've worked hard to get there. But in other cases, it's really just a matter of being in the right place at the right time and some stroke of luck happened to them and that sort of thing. And through this, I've realized that it can happen to anyone. And sometimes we think that you have to be a special person and you're not good enough if you don't become famous or something, but it can happen to anybody. And it really is sometimes just comes down to God's plan, His timing, luck, whatever else it may be. And so I like talking to people who have worked to get where they are, whether it be a celebrity or a leader or a business person, to learn from them what it takes to achieve that success. So we were able to spend a day at the Pentagon and spent the day with Colonel Sutherland. I met Admiral Mike Mullen, and those kinds of things are even more exciting for me, just because to be able to learn even just a little bit from incredible men like that is amazing. And so I really like just being able to meet anyone that I can learn from, whether or not they may be famous or have a celebrity title. So
you've done hundreds of these interviews. What question are you tired of? And what question...
From radio guys, mostly.
And what question... Have you ever said, well, why don't they ask me this?
You know, there's not too much of the why don't they ask me this, I think, but it really is, I think, a standard set of questions that most people ask. I mean, people that know me better, like from around here and that sort of thing, will have other questions to ask, but usually in general, there's standard questions based on my bio or information that they get or that sort of thing. I think the questions that I get most often are probably the ones with superlatives like most, favorite, and those are the hardest ones to answer. Seriously, you know, what is your favorite event? What is the most memorable? What is the most exciting? Because everything we do is so different that it's impossible to decide. You know, like I said, we were at the Pentagon for a day. Then I was in Ohio for the Duct Tape Festival. Then we spent 4 days with the Prince. Then, you know, so it's from one extreme to the other. So it's hard to compare just the events against each other and say most or favorites or that sort of thing. But it is interesting that I think you get a standard set of questions from people who are interviewing me and a standard set of questions from kids and those in schools and that sort of thing. So I think you get used to answering them all. But
When you've been everywhere, you know, and you've seen a lot of things, and Miss America has opened the door for a lot of things for you, but what is the hardest part? Playing along one of those stupid questions, but I mean, there's got to be times where you're like, you know, this is tough.
Yeah.
Whether it's visiting little kids that are sick or missing your folks or whatever. So what's the hardest part about being?
I've learned so much about myself the past couple of months by finding those hard times and thinking, what is it exactly that is making this hard? Why is it exactly that I'm frustrated, or you know, why is it that suddenly I'm not enjoying this? And I found that, well, truly attitude is everything, but also what drives that is having a purpose and a clear and defined goal. And sometimes I will start to feel myself thinking, what's the point of all of this? You know, why am I doing this day after day? You're so tired. Why do I keep going? And having that purpose that drives you and that fuels that passion is the most important thing. I mean, it's not only with this, it's with any job. And I found that I truly do believe that this is my mission field and this is where I'm placed this year, because there is a purpose and there is a reason, and that God has such an important meaning for what I'm doing this year. And as long as I continue to think about that, it gets me past those things. But the frustrating part is when I let myself start to think, I just want to take a day off, I just want to stay away from everybody, that sort of thing, because I'm forgetting, no, there's a reason that I have this opportunity. No one else has this opportunity right now. I only have it for a year, another 6 months now, and there is a reason and a meaning for everything that I do. And maybe if I meet this one more person, it will make a difference in their life. Maybe if I talk to one more little girl, it will change her in some way. And if you always have that bigger picture in mind, it changes everything. You can't go, just get past this day, just get past this day, and act like it's a monotony and a struggle to get through. You have to look at the big picture and think, what kind of impact can this have in the end? I may never know what a difference that this has made, and I may never fully realize how each thing that I'm doing this year is changing my life or someone else's life in the future. And sometimes I start feeling in this job like I have to reach every single person in the world, or every person in the country has to know who I am in order to make a difference. But then I realized that you don't. Anybody can make a difference and can make an impact. We all have the same ability to do that. And because of the situation you're in, you don't have any more ability to change someone's life than someone else does. And so I've always been a firm believer in the butterfly effect, and it's a theory in chaos theory that even a flap of a butterfly's wings can change entire weather patterns on the other side of the world. And it's just the theory that something so small really can change something on a grand scale. And so I continue to remember that, and remember that even if I'm very small and the things I do are small, it will be felt around the world because God uses that for something so much greater. So that's gotten me past those hard times, and I have continued to learn that, especially if I do want to go into public service in the future, it's going to need to be something that I continue to focus on and realize that that's the attitude I'll need to continue to have for the rest of my life. Because this has changed the rest of my life. I mean, this may be the most intense year, but for the rest of my life, I'll be known as Miss America 2011. And that never ends. Talking to former Miss Americas, they say, 20 years later, they're still recognized in the grocery store and have to sign an autograph. And one of our Miss Americas, Heather French Henry, was explaining that when that happens, she has kids, she may be in her sweats at the grocery store after a bad day, but if a little girl says, "Weren't you Miss America?" and wants a picture, she has to be everything that they ever expected Miss America would be. That the entire legacy and the iconic image of Miss America is on her shoulders then. It's not me, it's her. And so that will continue to be for the rest of my life. So I better learn how to learn to deal with that and accept that, but embrace it as well. Not just accept it, but also love it and realize that that is an incredible opportunity that I never would have had otherwise.
Do you have any secrets to keeping yourself focused and balanced?
Continuing to read the Bible and pray and journal to try to get my thoughts sorted out. Talking to grounded people, friends and family that are strong in their faith and have continued to be supportive is always helpful. Finding little things, just little things every day that, and that make you just realize how much you love life, whether it be something that you smell, something that you look at, truly taking time to smell the roses, just finding little things that you find pleasure in and that you find enjoyment in life really does make a big difference and help you savor every moment. And just taking the time to slow down and do that makes such a difference in your day-to-day work.
How much time do you get to spend talking to family and friends?
Honestly, I try to limit that on my end. There would be quite a bit of time, and it's a matter of priorities. I mean, when we've got hours off, I could spend it always talking to family and friends back home, but it makes it harder. I've found, and I've learned also, that some some women in this position would do that too much, that it truly does make you more homesick, more lonely, that sort of thing. If you're constantly almost wallowing in what you're missing out on, the people that you are not able to see, that sort of thing, rather than living in the moment. And so when it comes down to it, if we're in a new city and I have time, rather than spending it sitting in my hotel room talking to my family about everything that's going on back here, I want to go out and explore the city. I want to take the moment to enjoy where I am and be thankful for that, because I may never be back there. You know, honestly, as the person that I am, it's highly doubtful that I'll ever be back at the Super Bowl or the All-Star game or those types of things that I doubt I'll ever come back to. So I want to enjoy it while I'm there and not think about what I'm missing out on, think about the things that I have the opportunity to do. And I found that more than even missing my family, I have always just wanted them out there with me, to be able to experience those things with me. So, you know, taking pictures and writing about it is hopefully one way I can share it with family and friends back here once this year is over. But in the meantime, I need to really focus on where I am at and stay in the moment. Because if you're always looking too far ahead and too far back, you're never going to see right where you're at. And so you need a good balance of that. So I do try to limit it to some extent, just for 1 year. It's a sacrifice to make, to simply put your personal life aside, focus on your job, and then after this, you'll be able to share it with everybody again. And when I come back home, it's like it's never been any different. Honestly, yesterday I was back with my sisters. We went out to the lake, and it felt like I had never been gone. It felt like we've been here all summer doing this again. So as much as I may miss it out on the road, when I'm back, it feels back to normal. So I know that next year it'll be like that again.
If tomorrow they
Sorry.
told you, you're done, we're canceling the rest of the year because of whatever.
Oh goodness, let's hope not. Knock on wood or something.
What would you take from your experience right now and say, I'm glad I did this because?
Oh goodness. The thing that I continue to hear from parents, from teenagers my age, is just being a little bit of a hope or an inspiration or an example. And like I said, even going through high school, making tough choices and doing things that weren't exactly easy, it paid off in the end. And now, again, even though 6 months has been hard, it has been difficult, it's worth it, because if you serve as that inspiration to somebody, that truly makes a difference. And it always helps me realize how important the work that I'm doing is when a girl my age has been having a hard time, has been having issues, has felt down on herself, whatever it may be, and says, I want to be like you, you've been a good example, and you give me hope that I can do more, or that I can make something of myself. And hope can do so much. It really can. When people become despondent thinking that there's no way they could ever do this or that, it makes it impossible. But when you just have an example that it is possible, an example of what can be, that makes all the difference in the world. You know, coming up to this, there were many people that were constantly saying, no, you're too young, you can't do it. No, Nebraska's never won, you can't do it. But when you continue to see examples of people defying the odds and still continuing to be successful and being a good example, then it helps give you that hope that it is possible. And truly I've found from this that nothing is impossible. And so I've already found from my 6 months that that's one thing I can certainly be proud of, is that I continue to every day focus on my actions and what I'm saying and whatever it may be, examining myself to try to be the best example I can be. And nobody's perfect, and you have to accept failure as well, but that's something that I would take away from these 6 months and implement for the rest of my life. That it's always worth it, because you never know who's watching you. You never know whose life is going to be changed by something they see that you say or do. And I know that will continue to be true for the rest of my life.
Compare Teresa Scanlan today to Teresa Scanlan a year ago today.
Oh goodness. I think Cheryl could probably examine it a little more objectively than I could. But again, I've learned so much about myself. And a year ago, even though I had begun on this journey of finding out those things that nothing was impossible and finding out those things about God's plan in my life, but this year has done it so much more for me that I have made leaps and bounds in realizing that I can plan my life to the day I die on paper, but it is going to change. And that God really does have my life in His hands, and that makes all the difference in the world. And that I have to be willing to accept that and do whatever it is that He calls me to do, be wherever it is that He puts me. And I've realized also that it's the times that I feel most unprepared. It's the times that I feel so small and weak that He uses me for the most incredible things. And I always thought that I had to be powerful, confident, always ready to be a leader. And I remember growing up reading those stories in the Bible of leaders, Gideon, Moses, who had been called and said, no, God, you've got the wrong person. It can't be me. I'm not ready to do this. I can't be your leader. And I always thought, that's not going to be me. I'll always be ready to do whatever it is I'm called to do. And then I've realized over the past year that it was all those times that I was so scared, so unprepared, that when I simply got over that fear of failing, that the most amazing things happened. And a lot of people let that fear paralyze and cripple them and hold them back from so many things. And if you simply realize that confidence is not about always being successful, it's about not being afraid of failing. And when you realize that and let go of that fear of failure, that's where that true confidence comes from. And that's where you'll be able to take the largest steps in your life. And I began to realize that last year, as when I competed for Miss Nebraska 2 weeks after high school graduation, I was scared to death. I had no idea what I was doing. Even when I graduated high school, I graduated a year early and thought that there's no way I was ready, that I wasn't prepared to go to college, maybe I didn't get the education I needed. I was so scared of graduating early and going out to college and leaving home, and decided to go for it anyway. And if I hadn't have done that, I literally would not be here today. I wouldn't have even been eligible to start competing this year. And to realize that that happened for a reason, and that I can be here today now because I got over those fears and continue to take those steps, that truly changes your life. And so I hope I can continue to do that for the rest of my life and realize I don't always have to be prepared, perfect, ready to go, but God will use that no matter what, as long as I let Him get over that fear of failure and still dive into life head first.
Fear of failure. Have you ever had a day as Miss America where you go, boy, I wish I could have done that over?
Oh, goodness. You know, sometimes you have on and off days, and especially when it comes to either high stakes speeches or interviews or that sort of thing. I just remember the last Fox and Friends interview that I did. I just was feeling off that day, and I don't know if I was tired or what, but I was having trouble concentrating when we were doing the interview, and just didn't say everything that I needed to say, and didn't think that I did very well. And I wish I could have done that over, because the next day we had just a little local interview that I did very well, was feeling great that day, everything was on, and wish that those could have been switched around. But again, it's just realizing that every day is not going to be perfect, but still going to do my best every time, whether I'm feeling well or not, whether everything goes my way or not, and hopefully that it will work out the way it's supposed to, and something will come from that. Yeah.
Rob, do you mind if she asks?
I have two questions, but we'll go one at a time.
Yes.
I'll
One.
pay for it.
I believe you're the 90th Miss America,
Yes.
and I believe this is the 90th Oregon Trail Days.
Really? They started at the same time. Wow. That's amazing. I didn't even realize that. Well, I'm glad to be back then for the anniversary. That's amazing. It's really neat to be part of traditions like that. That's really cool.
How much chili are you going to eat?
And she had two questions.
I hope a lot.
The second part I was going to ask you, what more is coming on? You partnered with The Hand That Feeds Us and U.S. Cattlemen. kind of what's coming up, in
Right.
maybe in the coming months.
Right. We got to meet with them again, a couple weeks ago. They had a bunch of their people from all over the United States and their organization there in DC for some lobbying events and things like that. So I was able to actually speak to a group of interns from different organizations there in DC, as well as from the offices of various congressmen, to speak to them. We did, again, some more interviews, things like that. We're also, I think in about 2 weeks, again, working with U.S. Cattlemen's Association. Most of the events that we do are either media-based, because that's not a way that they usually have an in, because usually pitching Miss America to do these things is a little easier than trying to get a farmer or a cattleman to do these interviews on agriculture. So that's really a strong point where I can work with them and what we most focus on, and also being able to talk to other groups of people like those interns that may not be groups of just farmers and ranchers or groups of cattlemen, but groups on the outside, I guess, that really just need to understand what it's about and hear it from somebody that they'll be able to relate to, and understand it even on the level that you may not be a farmer, but you still need to eat, and understand that everybody has a part in it, whether or not you are part of the farming and agriculture industry. So again, looking forward to some more of those events. I've seen some more on the calendar, not sure exactly what we'll be doing yet, but I'll be getting more details as they come.
You're getting a lot of notoriety just outside farm broadcasters. I mean,
Right. It's been, honestly, that is one group that we have felt the strongest support from. Just an outpouring of so much support and excitement for what we're doing with them. So that's really encouraging. I think it's good to see what we may be able to continue to do in the future, and that they are so grateful and also willing to work and cooperate on these projects, so that we can work together in those areas. So it's always interesting to continue to get that feedback. So I appreciate it.
You mentioned Fox and Friends. You were for that one interview you did. You talked about the duct tape.
Yes.
And then you posted something about how if you were stuck on a desert island, the only thing you'd ever need is a roll of duct tape.
Yep.
Has 3M contacted you, or Duct Tape International, or have you been their official spokesperson?
The Duck brand duct tape company is the one that I went to the Duct Tape Festival with. And they're the ones that had me judge their prom competition as well. So we've been working with them, and we're looking at possibly doing some more things with them, whether it be on a sponsorship level for the organization or something like that. I think I would even next year love to be the face of duct tape. So I'll continue to work with them and see, because it was interesting as we were talking with the executives there, they said that their target age for the duct tape that they make is usually 14 to 18-year-old girls. So what an interesting thing that Miss America probably would be the perfect partnership there. So it's so interesting, they gave me 2 of their new patterns that are these polka dot patterns. They got Hello Kitty duct tape now. They launched their new collegiate line, so they have Husker duct tape, all of that. So it's very exciting to see, and hopefully something more will come of it, because they're great people to work with, as well as you can imagine working with a company like that that's just so creative. They have a lot of fun. So we had a great time at the festival and with the parade and everything. So I hope some more things come with them as well.
You got a sash made of...
Yes, they made me a Miss America sash with colored duct tape.
And roses?
They made me the bouquet of red, white, and blue roses made of colored duct tape. And then when I was in Nebraska for Miss Nebraska, the backstage hostesses who help all the girls backstage at the pageant knew about my love of making things with duct tape. So they had their own fashion show where they all created outfits made of duct tape. So then at the end, they gave me a pair of shoes that were pink and zebra duct tape to wear at the festival as well. So I wore those with my zebra dress there. It went very well. And it was one place that you can wear your sash made of duct tape and your shoes covered with duct tape, and everybody loves it. Not one person will think it's strange. So there are tons of kids coming up, so excited that I loved making things out of duct tape too. I got tons of duct tape wallets from kids. I got all sorts of things they made me. The ring that I showed on Fox and Friends some kids made me. So many things, but that's just exciting for me to share those passions and interests with other people, and to realize that these kids come up just almost relieved that they found somebody that shares their interest, that they can say, Miss America makes things out of duct tape, so can I, you know, you can't make fun of that anymore. So I think that's my favorite part about it, is telling kids, hey, it's okay to be creative, it's okay to have a hobby that's interesting or unique. Was it normal when I was wearing my duct tape clothes at Scottsbluff High School? No, but that's okay. I loved it. So just staying with those things that you do love and that are exciting. And it was so funny because at a junior high, I shared with them about that, how through high school, that could have been something that I let disappear and that I hid and decided to stop making things with duct tape and hide all my duct tape because not everybody at the school enjoyed it the way I did. But I didn't, because it's still something that I loved, and even if people make fun of you for it, you continue it. And how much that would have changed. But I never would have been able to do these events and these great things this year if I hadn't been willing to stick with it and then even put it on my Miss America resume, things like that. So it's incredible to see what things can come from just the smallest thing. Again, which is another reason why I'm looking forward to seeing what other projects and opportunities may stem from each thing that we're able to do this year as well.
It sounds like the gist of your message, though, is acceptance.
Absolutely, because I found growing up being homeschooled, I found that was something it was difficult for me to do for myself, but my family was great about. My mom never compared me to my sisters. She never tried to tell me to be like somebody else. She never told me to change to be more like the person next to me. They were very accepting. Growing up the middle of 7, they were understood that everybody was so different across 7 children, that we never needed to be like each other. But it took me a while to understand that. Then when I finally understood that, I went to Gearing High School and Scottsbluff High School and realized other people didn't understand that. And their parents and the people around them hadn't stressed it the way that mine did. And the people that I grew up with, whether it be my pageant directors or whoever in my life, constantly stressed, you're special the way you are. Accept those things and run with your abilities and the things that are your strengths, and don't worry about that your strengths aren't the same as the person next to you. But then I went to school and realized that's just not the case. That many children grow up never realizing that everybody's different, never realizing that that's the beauty of life. They think that it's the curse of their existence that they're different from somebody else. They are constantly comparing themselves to the person next to them. They're finding that one person in this school that they want to be like and sacrificing everything to be like that person. That's not necessarily a bad thing to want to be like somebody else. That can be a good thing, but not when you let it turn to jealousy, not when you let it turn to getting down on yourself. You know, it's been interesting to realize that many, especially girls my age, when they admire something in somebody else, they let it turn to jealousy and hate, instead of using that to examine what it is that they really like about that person, analyzing that and figuring out how they can implement it in their own life and how they can use it to improve themselves, make themselves a better person. And over the years, I learned to do that. Whether it came to other Miss Nebraskas, whether it came to people I admired, I would find what is it exactly that I so love about them, and how can I implement that in my life so that you can continue to improve yourself every day instead of get down on yourself. Because a lot of people, you know, think that humility is thinking less of yourself. It's not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less and other people more. And many people just don't realize that. That you can have that balance of confidence and humility by understanding the strengths in other people and using it to improve yourself, but then understanding your own and accepting that. And I've truly found that is the biggest issue facing young people today. And I've asked other people, all of the teen contestants at Miss Nebraska were asked in their interview, what is the largest issue facing teenagers today? Every single one, without an exception, said peer pressure. The only reason peer pressure is an issue is because they lack the confidence to stand up to it. You only submit yourself to peer pressure. You won't feel peer pressure if you don't let yourself. And once young people, actually people of any age, can learn to develop that confidence and that acceptance of themselves, peer pressure is no longer an issue. And when we look at all the things that leads to, almost any issue facing young people today can be stacked up to peer pressure or to lack of self-confidence. And if those are the issues that we can focus on and change, that will make such a difference. And because I'm finally starting to learn that in my own life, that's just something huge that I want to share with other people so they can start to realize that as well.
So you're Miss America, representing Nebraska as well. As you've gone around in your travels, what kind of perception do people have of Nebraska?
It's all across the board, actually. I'm always excited when I hear people that say, Nebraska, I've been there, and all I can remember is the people were so nice. That's my favorite one. Other people say, Nebraska, I've been there. All I can remember is the longest drive of my life. Other people have mostly just been to Omaha and Lincoln. They don't really understand that there's anywhere else in Nebraska. So anytime I have an event in Omaha, they always go, oh, you're going home. Yeah, about 8 hours away, but close, right? In the East Coast and other areas, things are so close, they don't understand that. Other times, people ask where it is. Other times, you get a little bit of everything. Honestly, I think it's mostly a good attitude. When people hear that I'm from Nebraska, usually it kind of opens up conversation because they almost feel like that automatically makes you more down to earth, more grounded, more easy to be around. Although I don't think I have an accent, some people say I have a farm girl accent, just because I guess automatically they think, they hear that from being from Nebraska. I don't know. So we get all sorts of comments. I should write down the list of things that people say about Nebraska. Most of them are positive though, so that's a good thing. It's been good to hear that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. No, thank you guys so much.
One more.
Yes.
What advice would you give to Kayla?
Kayla Bott?
Yep.
Oh goodness. I actually was thinking about all of that the past months and wrote a journal for her so that hopefully she would have that advice, because something that was tough for me too, that I know will be an issue, may not be tough for her, is again living up to the person before you. That was tough for me because Brittany Jeffers was such an amazing Miss Nebraska. She did such a great job at Miss America, and I was afraid that I had really big shoes to fill. And for a while, I let that pressure get to me. And I hope above all else that this does not cause any sort of pressure. I want it to be wonderful for her to be able to carve her own legacy. And I think that's one of the most important things that I learned as Miss Nebraska, is you can always tailor it to your own individual interests and then make it your own year as Miss Nebraska. No one else is going to be like you. So I think that she's definitely the woman to do it. She's so strong and independent and has a personality of her own. So I think she'll do incredible things as Miss Nebraska this year. Some other things that I shared with her was just the fact that in the Miss Nebraska program, it's so flexible that gives you huge opportunities to do whatever you want with it. That you pretty much have the opportunity to dictate the things that you do this year and the people you're able to reach. So whether it be taking that first step and reaching out to other people, brainstorming projects that you can start with your platform, things like that, take those opportunities to do that. Don't just expect it to be handed to you. Because unlike the very structured job of Miss America, Miss Nebraska is very flexible and you can do what you will with it. And I think that's a great opportunity to be able to explore whatever interest you have. So I think she'll do an amazing job with that.
Good to have you home.
Thank you. Thank you so much, you guys. Thanks for being here. Well, thank you. It's good to see everyone again.
Teresa, I am
Yeah.
not the press, but I have a question.
What's
that
that?
I wondered about Miss America ever since I was watching.
Uh-huh.
How do you keep that crown on?
I wish I could chalk it
You
up to my
are-
impeccable balance,
You
but
are
it's
so
not.
animated and beautiful. And you're
No, I know. It's got elastic across the top, and then I just do 4 bobby pins on each side.
okay.
It's the secret. I know. Little girls are
She's gonna have to
constantly
kill you
asking
now,
about
but-
it.
I know.
Yeah, I've had so many. Do they screw that into your head when you win? Do they staple it? Did you tape it? Did you glue it? All sorts of things.
I know. I've often wondered that.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my.
That's why sometimes it takes a while during the crowning too, because they have to get all the bobby pins in and try to make it stay. So I know when I was crowned, it was kind of off to the side and wobbly because it's so hard to do it on somebody else. But I've gotten better at it, but now I can actually do it.